Intertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are very wisely tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I am Scott, your host, and a man who puts his Christmas lights up on Black Friday and takes those suckers down right on New Year's Eve, or right on New Year's Day, not even New Year's Eve. And of course, with me on the air today is a man who we know leaves his up all year long. The neighbors are complaining. Just outside Miramar Air Force Base in San Diego, California, Paul B.
How's it going?
Hey, so do you put your lights up at the right time, or do you leave my ball?
I put my lights on just like any other guy, one leg at a time.
One leg at a time for those
to mix my metaphors.
You know, there's actually regulations here in my neighborhood that you can't activate your Christmas. You can put them up, but you can't activate your Christmas lights until the day after Thanksgiving, and they're they fine you. It's very un-American. It's certainly not Christmassy to fine people for their lights. I don't think that's appropriate.
Yeah, that kind of goes against the whole Christmas spirit.
It does. It really does. Well, good. We are here. If you have a question for me, you can always email me at scott@robertsoncom2ms.com, and I will answer anything right on the show. You can also find my posts, my client news clips, my tidbits, things that I'm talking about during the week on the RobertsonCom Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/RobertsonCom, or Twitter @RobertsonCom. You can reach out and connect with me there. Hopefully I can entertain you. I'll give you some tips. Actually, today's entire show comes from an idea that I was inspired by. I got an email from a listener, and really was an interesting topic that the person suggested, so I thought we would dig into it today. And so we're going to talk about, this is episode 36, by the way, and I call it Learning About Relations. Relations is the second word in public relations. But today, and so it's very, very important in marketing. You know, as I always mention, the goal of all marketing is and should be long-term relationships with the audiences that you're trying to serve out there. That's what we're always after. And a lot of people get that twisted, and they'll say, well, their goal is sales. No, that's not the goal. That's the goal temporarily, but the real goal is, again, as we talked about many, many times on this show, really adjusting that perspective to say that our goal is about long-term, mutually beneficial relationships. Now, we're not talking about the kind of relations like when a man loves a woman, they share a special kind of hug. It's not that kind of relations, but it's very important nonetheless. Managing these things, managing your great relationships, again, the goal of what we're trying to do. And so it takes a few things to do it well. Today, we're going to tackle how it's done, both with client relationships. We're going to talk about external and internal clients, the differences between those, and also with the audiences that we're trying to reach. So get ready to change your relationship status from "it's complicated" to "I have so got this." We're going to hit this topic hard today, and also we're going to discuss who's winning and who's losing in the wonderful world of marketing and communications. So, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I got an email that I wanted to address. It was, I think it's really, really important, to lay down a little bit of groundwork here as we're talking. So, the email basically reads, and I won't read the whole thing, but the part that we want to discuss on this show today is. The person says, I want to do things the right way regarding communications, like you talk about on your show, but there are many barriers inside of the building here that stop me. How do you deal with that? And, how do you deal with all the other people that you need to, convince sometimes internally? Sometimes that internal audience can be your most difficult audience to convince. And believe me, the struggle is real. I have worked inside organizations before, and so I understand that piece of it, and I understand the external piece of it as well. But today we are going to talk about a little bit about those relationships. So really, we're talking about dealing with people, and you might say, okay, this is a show about marketing and communications. Why are we talking about this? Well, it's because if you want your communications to be successful, you are going to have to bring other people along in your wacky and crazy ideas, and you're going to have to be able to merchandise your success and do things that build your client relationships. And if you're going to do this for a living, as I do with my company, then you're going to have to be able to, delight your clients and handle all the aspects of the relationship, very, very well, if you want to continue to, eat food, which is always a bonus. Or drink beer if you're a musician, because musicians can live without food. They can live on a diet that consists entirely of shots and beer. I've seen it. It's scary, but I've seen it. So when we're talking about client relationships, why are they so important? Again, they're important because, obviously, first of all, they pay you. If you're on the outside, if you're talking about your external clients and you're an agency or service provider kind of model, if you're on the inside, they're so important because those are the people that who you serve. If you're in a communications role, you are providing you're sort of an internal service provider to a number of different departments, and you're bringing your expertise to bear for the company. But you have to deal with some of the people who run those various enterprises, inside the company, and it can get very complex and very sticky. Why is communicating with other people so difficult? Well, the answer lies in basic human psychology. As we've talked about a lot of times on the show, mankind as a whole, as a group, has a survival instinct, right? It's built into our biology. It is expressed in a number of ways by making us sort of self-centered creatures. We are very much into ourselves, and very much a very distant second is everybody else. And I know that, and that's going to make people upset, that people are going to be like, not me, and I know this nice little old lady at church, and that's not her. It's her too. It's not presented to you at a level where you can choose it. So this is your this is your brain right here. We are all programmed this way. We all have the same hardware, the same software that runs us. So you're kind of excused from, well, this person's better than this person, and this person's not self-centered. Some people are just better at hiding it than other people are. But and believe me, the purpose of the show is not to just denigrate mankind and say how bad we all are. It's basically to say let's look at it with our eyes wide open. Let's really understand why communications can be so difficult. And one of the core things that I've learned in my career with marketing is that we don't see things the same way. We really don't. You should go to the website Rotten Tomatoes, which I use as a educational tool with my clients all the time, and especially clients that expect all reviews to be positive. I just say, flat out, people see things differently. They see the same experience, and they experience it differently depending on their eyes and their prism, right? Our eyes don't see, they project. And it's important that you know that as a communicator, because otherwise you might have this expectation that, well, if I put out the message that says, Coca-Cola is the best, then, and I have scientific backing for that, and I have, a bunch of celebrities saying this, then everybody's going to believe that. They will not. The reason they will not is because they are bringing with them to your conversation all of their previous baggage with the brand. Maybe their girlfriend broke up with them and she was wearing a Coca-Cola t-shirt. They might not actually be in touch with why they hate your brand. Again, when you're talking about human psychology, there can be a lot of there might be's in there. And we don't even begin to understand how some of that stuff, particularly the stuff that works in the subconscious, really kind of comes into play. But it's important as a communicator that you know that. So you ever I'll speak to the internal communicator audience out there. You ever have a conversation, you're pitching a program, something else, and it kind of goes, it's really clear, and you think it's going to be great, and you think everybody's just going to go along, and heads are going to be nodding, and people are going to be high fives around the table, and you give the presentation, and people don't understand it, and they're asking all kinds of dumb questions, and they just don't seem to be getting it the same way that you're getting it, right? And you're like, I don't understand it. I everything I did was, was right on this, and the whole thing got derailed and just went completely sideways on me. What happened? What happened was, the fact that you were dealing with different mindsets in the room who saw your presentation differently, who see your ideas differently than you do, because they're bringing their stuff, their baggage, their projections, all of their stuff into your conversation. So what is a communicator to do? Really, really, first of all, no assumptions about how people are going to perceive your message. No assumptions about how your message is going to be perceived. If you can eliminate your own assumptions that everything's going to go well, then you can start to open the door for, well, how could this potentially go south for me when I'm trying to pitch this big idea? What are these people, and of course, I'm going to mention research, right? So, research is, let's take that example of just pitch in the room, for example. You've got a big marketing communications program. You need the whole company to buy off on it. They're all coming in with different ideas of, well, how will this affect me? Well, how will this do this? Not everybody's coming to this with this altruistic, idea. Human beings are all about, how is this going to affect me, and kind of to hell with everybody else. And that's just, baby, that's just biology. That's just biology and basic psychology at work on a daily basis out there, just so you know. So, you need to account for it and say, well, what is this group of the audience likely to be thinking about what we're doing? What are their fears going to be? You need to project yourself. Remember, I talk about empathy a lot, right? Empathy is your greatest weapon when it comes to dealing with the varying levels of human behavior and psychology. If you can exhibit some empathy and kind of put yourself in the position of the audiences that you're trying to deal with, let's say internally in that case, then you're going to be so much further along. You're going to be able to anticipate those objections. You're going to be able to kind of stroke the right egos in the room, and you're going to be able to, to have success being able to do that. But very few people actually do that. Very few people do that, and then they sort of wonder why their presentation. You ever see the movie Big with Tom Hanks? When he derails that one guy's presentation by saying, "Why is that fun?" Guy gives a whole presentation about this toy, that kind of thing, and says, "We're here in our projections." This and Tom Hanks, the character who is, basically a pre-teenager, in a grown man's body, so he kind of has that immaturity about him. Raises his hand and says, "Why is that fun? That's not fun." That kind of thing, and just derails the whole thing. Because he was coming at it from a different perspective, right? You have to be able to you have to be able to kind of anticipate that perspective and kind of get in front of it. So, that's why it's so difficult. The relationships that we need to value, there's tiers of relationships in our world, in our business world. You need to know, one of the things that you learn when you first join the job, one of the things you're starting to learn is the culture. You're learning who controls what, how long that's been the case, what do we do, what as an organization, how do we behave? And I mean internally. I'm not talking about the stuff that was, created, the mission statement and, stuff for external audiences, but I mean internally. You got to, acclimate yourself to that. And everybody kind of does, whether you're conscious of it or not. It sort of happens as just living inside an organization for a good period of time as, your place of business. External clients we know are important because they allow us to do things. They continue to pay our budgets. They continue to do, they are how the business grows if you're a service provider. They're how your business, stays profitable, yada, yada, all that. Now your internal clients, a little bit trickier, right? Because you don't know for example, if you're set up and you're a director of marketing communications and you have several other, directors that you need to report to, then, and when I say report to, I mean you're providing a service that they take advantage of in order to further the interest of the entire company. Those relationships can be tricky because they come at it from different ways. Sometimes they don't completely understand what it is that we do here in the marketing laboratory, and you got to bring them along, So I think it's important to know about those external and internal clients. I wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about what you do when the client is wrong, because that was another part of this email that I got. What do you do when the internal kind of forces, powers that be, want to do something that's wrong? A lot of things we talk about in the show are big organizations and small organizations doing things wrong. In the winning and losing segment, we deal with that all the time. What do you do if you face something that's incredibly stupid, that somebody wants to do something? You know it's going to be a communication problem, and you can see the train, right? The lights are coming. Are you stuck with that? How do you balance the right thing to do for the organization versus the right thing to do for your continued employment with the organization? Well, I'll give you my policy on that. I believe that as a profession, we are there to tell the truth. We are there always. We are there to be that voice of reason and to put our skills on the line, to do that. It is not the most popular position to be in, folks. You are not going to be, if you are assigned this job and you are the brand police for an organization and people are doing crazy stuff off the reservation out there, and believe me, they're out there. Your job won't be popular, but it's very important. It's very, very important because all the big things that we talk about for the success of the organization, the brand consistency, the touch points, all of those things, they require someone or a group of people, but let's just say it's you for now, to be there holding the line against stupidity. And baby, stupidity runs rampant in the business world. If you don't believe me, stick around for segment 2. Stick around for segment 2 of any of these shows. You will see more stupidity on display than I can begin to tell you. It's just that part of the show writes itself every week, and I just shake my head and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But again, it's out there, and a lot of it comes from people in communications positions not holding the line against stupid stuff, right? It's our job to do it. It's our job to stand up and make sure that the company's doing the right thing. We're talking about client relationships today on May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back to segment 2. We are going to talk about who's winning and who's losing this week. See you in a few.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Hey, it's Tracy Smith
and Beth Venus
of Girls Talk Rock right here on the Intertalk Radio Network.
Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, Beth, they know that, but we want you to know that the industry pro's choice is Silver Tiger Production.
STP is a full-service production agency offering sound, lighting, installations, talent buying, staffing, backline equipment rental, and sales. Kapow!
It's everything in the entertainment performance industry. It's all at
It's all that.
SilverTigerProduction.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Happy Friday. You are back with May the Best Brand Win on InterTalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your host. Today we're talking about client relationships. I'm here with Paul.
Hey.
What'd you think of the first segment, Paul? What's going on?
It's a complete surprise to me that the business world is full of stupid people doing stupid things. I never would have suspected such a thing.
I know it's revelatory. People come out of college and they're like, "Wait, how does this stuff actually get done?" Well,
you think adults are running things, but it's just not true.
It's just not true. Well, yeah, exactly the case. Well, I'll tell you what, that can be the most challenging part of the job sometimes. We're going to dig back into that. In segment 3, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some tips for building great business relationships out there. But in segment 2, we're going to talk about who's winning and who's losing. So let's get kicked off with that. By the way, I wrote a little song to start off with winning and losing, but I can't do it right now because I haven't figured a way to get my piano sound to play through yet. But just so you know, I've written some awesome intro music that you guys are going to love in probably next week's episode. You're going to dig it.
That's awesome. Why didn't we think of this like 3 months sooner?
I know. It's going to have a little, pretty soon with like Jimmy Fallon with like
can't wait to hear it.
Oh, it's magical. So cool. Well, let's talk about who's winning this week. The Dow Jones Industrials really winning, baby. Closing above 19,000 for the first time in 120 years. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I like to bury my money personally. I like to, when I get a check from a client, I like to, go like a dog and I'm in the backyard digging a hole and sticking it in there. It's all good. So, but some people, they like the stock market. That's one of the reasons I don't like the stock market personally is because I learned early on in my career that I do public relations. And when I would issue releases about a company, their stock would go up and down. And I was like, well, in the wrong hands, that could be a real problema, right? The fact that, somebody's, we always used to joke back in the agency in those days that, if a client ever fired us, that we would just issue a press release about them, doing something stupid and their stock price would tank. And we called it, what do we call it? We called it releasing the sparrow. That was our code name for that insanity. I've got some friends probably that are listening. They're like, I remember releasing the sparrow. Wait, that was insane. We never did that. We never did that sort of thing. But it was always fun to talk about. Anyway, the Dow's doing great and winning this week. You know who else is winning? Harman. Harman was just acquired by Samsung. Well, I mean, maybe winning. The pro audio side of Harman, the whole company, the consumer electronics giant, of Harman, for $8 billion. This was announced right in sort of late November when the news started to come out from that. And the plan is really that the reason that Samsung wants Harman, of course, JBL and so many pro audio brands, so many music brands under the Harman flag as well. But the biggest part of Harman's brand is a lot of their car audio and connected car technology. And that is what interests Samsung. Because if you've been paying attention to the car market, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Apple has been making a lot of big inroads with its Apple CarPlay software and getting that to be the operating system of choice for a lot of big car brands. And so Samsung's freaking out about that. Obviously, a lot of problems with Samsung with exploding phones and washing machines and that sort of thing. But they're also thinking about, what to do in the car space. Harman owns AKG, Lexicon, JBL Professional, Studer, Crown, a lot of those things. And so far, so good. Samsung says that they're going to leave that part of the business alone and really kind of focus on how do they integrate their technology for their wireless devices into this connected car type of thing. But I think you got to put Harman in the win category. $8 billion is pretty good, for a company like that. So I think I'm going to put them in the winning column for that. Losing this week are anybody that wants to limit reviews online. The FTC basically came out with some guidance on that recently. Let me see if I can't find it, if I haven't lost it. Oh man, where did it go? Well, the story basically is the fact that Congress has gotten involved. They passed a law now that says that companies cannot limit consumer reviews online, right? And the FTC is, of course, the enforcement arm of this whole thing. But basically, how we talked about Amazon starting to cut reviews out, and here's what you got to understand: why does Amazon feel like they need to do that? Marketing, right? Marketing is the problem. Almost any problem that you can find in society, I defy you not to be able to trace it back to marketing. Marketing causes so many problems in our society. I can't even begin to tell you. So these companies are trying to do the right thing. They're trying to put out, some version of the truth about what these products are being reviewed online. And then your more industrious and less ethical marketers in the world are coming in and paying people to endorse things that they haven't used, or there's no limit to what marketers will do to, get that sale and that sort of thing. So Congress had to get involved. And just to set your expectations, Congress is about 90% lawyers, most of whom they couldn't pick marketing out of a lineup. I mean, they have no clue what we do over here in the marketing lab. And so you've got a bunch of lawyers voting on, whether e-commerce companies should limit their consumer reviews online. And they passed a law, because that's what they do down there, to limit what e-commerce companies can post. And again, all driven by the fact that you have marketers and they're messing it up. And now Congress has to get involved. And so I'm going to put that in all that's a whole bunch of losing. That's just all kinds of, there's so many different versions of losing going on there. But the biggest losing is the fact that if you run an e-commerce company, now you've got some new legislation you're going to have to get familiar with, and you're going to have to understand what you need to do and what you need to say about consumer reviews online. We're going to come back to that in a second, but because there's another story that ties in there. But winning this week, I saw a really cool PR stunt that I thought was really, really good, and it was basically from a company, the fun little game called Cards Against Humanity. Maybe you've played it, maybe you've heard of it, that sort of thing. It was they did a crowdfunding stunt, and people basically donated over $100,000 to dig a giant pointless hole in the ground. You can find the story on NPR, by the way. Cards Against Humanity, maker of this game of the same name, announced that it would be celebrating Black Friday by digging a giant pointless hole of the ground. They called it the Holiday Hole, and they said that they would dig the hole for as long as people were willing to pay for it. So the dig lasted for days, and it ended on Sunday. It's great for Cards Against Humanity because they have that kind of sense of humor, right? And it plays to the card game. The card game is really, really funny. And, but basically before the dig was stopped, donations began to dwindle. But for more than a week, the money piled up, and there's all this displaced dirt. They keep posting pictures of the hole, which is really funny. Although the location has not been disclosed exactly where it is. There's lots of people commenting online thinking they know where it is, that kind of thing. But the initiative brought in $100,573. So Cards Against Humanity came out and said, we're going to crowdfund a giant hole, and then we want you guys to all give money to it. And people did that, and they just dug a big hole for $100,000. And I mean, it's a giant hole. So anyway, I thought that was that's really funny, and what a great way to capitalize on on Black Friday publicity for Cards Against Humanity. So check that out. It's a great story. It's very funny. Also winning this week is Instagram. They made some announcements recently that they're introducing some new features that kind of mimic Twitter and some of the Snap stuff. So, Instagram is owned by who? Facebook. That's right. And so they are rolling out some new features. This past Monday, they talked about a feature that focuses on more live video, and one on what they call ephemeral messaging, which is a big old fancy word for content that disappears, right? Just like Snap and Snapchat. When Snapchat first started, it had this ephemeral content sort of thing. It had things that disappear. So the quote was really good. It said, "We want Instagram to be a place where you can share all your moments to create a pressure-free space to do so." What's interesting, basically Instagram's trying to keep up with Snap and Snapchat. Snapchat is going public for a huge, multi-billion-dollar valuation, by the way. If you follow that kind of news, you can find that just pretty much everywhere. But this new feature is called Instagram Stories, and it really kind of mimics the Snapchat feature called what? Snapchat Stories, in which people can organize your photos into a storyline. But I'm going to put them into the winning column because they're kind of keeping up with the Joneses there and hanging on there with their new disappearing content features and again, trying to kind of keep up with Snap. Also winning, mobile messaging apps. A new study comes out and says that by 2019, 25% of the world's population will be using mobile messaging apps. And the story, which comes to us from eMarketer, basically says more than a quarter of the world's population will be using mobile messaging apps. It will be used by 1.4 billion people in 2016, which went up 16%. Then it talks about the Asia Pacific region being home to more than 50% of all chat app users worldwide. India is the second largest market for messaging apps and the fastest growing. One of the reasons for it is the fact that SMS texting is more expensive, and so using these apps, that you don't get dinged with SMS texting fees and those kind of things that some of those other providers still hit people with. Most people here in the good old U.S. of A. Have unlimited texting. I don't know anybody that pays a per texting type of fee. Which is going to become increasingly important as marketers start to text you more stuff. God, but it's coming. Just so you know, they're going to, the more you give out your mobile number, the more you, I mentioned on this show before, I get between 15, 20 phone calls for solar panels a week on my mobile phone. I've had solar panels for like 3 years. Task a Google satellite to take a picture of my house and stop calling me. I have solar panels, which you can see from space. So dig into that, figure it out. That's another problem with marketing. It's just no research. No research. You don't know who I am. And it's like, why would you waste your time calling me? And when I clearly, even if you had the best solar panels on the planet, I have them. I'm done. We're done with that. So I'm just going to say. But anyway, I digress. Back to mobile messaging apps. Looks like something that we all as communicators want to be looking into, particularly worldwide, is the prominence of these and how they are going to continue to grow. That's a big chunk of people using them by 2019. And, of course, marketing is like, ooh, yay, let's run ads. And that'll make more people not want to use them. Just saying. Winning this week also, Cyber Monday. Sales record. Big old time. So $3.45 billion in sales on Cyber Monday. Come on. Where's the applause button for that? That's insane. That's just, it's crazy. It's definitely one for the history books. Incredible. Black Friday was massive for retailers, but then following up by Cyber Monday and 3.5 billion in sales really has got to show you that, we buy a lot of stuff right around here. The National Retail Federation said that 23% of those shopping on Cyber Monday expected to do their browsing from mobile gadgets, roughly the same numbers in 2015. So they track, mobile versus desktop as well. Interesting, but definitely got to put them in the winning category. While we're talking about Instagram, I did want to talk about, something that has come up about FTC rules in Instagram. Now, everybody knows probably that there are regulations about companies. And if you like, the FTC issued some blogger guidelines back in 2008 or 9 that basically said these are the rules you got to follow if you're going to blog, and you have to say that this is paid, and if you got this product for free, then you have to state it and that kind of thing. But now the FTC is going after everyday Instagram users who are now facing complaints over breaking the FTC ad rules on their Instagram. Even if you only have like 102 likes, you can be subject to you must follow the FTC rules about saying, hey, this is paid, that kind of thing. Now, why would the FTC get involved here? Remember what we talked about earlier in the segment? What would you guess is the root cause of this problem? Yes, that is right. Marketing. Marketers are the problem. Are more industrious and slightly less ethical in the profession have decided to start going after your everyday users, sending them product, getting them to talk about it, which some people might call a bribe or something else, that kind of thing. And then, of course, they don't disclose it. And then consumer groups complain about it, and the FTC has to get involved. What stops that problem, right? Responsible marketing. Responsible marketing. I know. It's like a misnomer. But, responsible marketing actually would stop that from happening. So I don't know where we're going to put this. I think we're going to put this in marketing losing once again. And now if you're an everyday Instagram user out there, just know that even if you only have 102 likes, on your page, or you only have 100 people following you, that you too could very much be, subject to these FTC guidelines that companies are subject to. And there could be fines. Basically, this advocacy group called Public Citizen wrote the FTC to enforce policies around marketing on Instagram, even for people with small followings. And marketers out there, don't do that stuff. Do things on the up and up. It's going to be better for your long-term relationships. And that is the game that we're looking for. But right now, you are still tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back. I'm going to give you some tools and some tips for building your great relationships. We'll talk to you in a bit.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Girls are talking rock again.
And people are listening.
Today we're talking bands.
Let's talk promotion. Red Giant promo, graphics, EPKs, video, photos, social media, and brand building using content marketing.
But let's talk studio at CCMA, which is events, rehearsal, tour prep, piano, guitar, voice, rock band, lessons, workshops, and clinics. Yeah!
Both proud sponsors of Girls Talk Rock.
Well, get the lowdown on these services and contact me, Tracy, at girlstalkrock.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, you are wisely back for segment 3 of May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, and we just did winning and losing. Paul, what'd you like this week?
The Cards Against Humanity story. I actually came across that at some point last week. That's pretty funny. I feel like there's a metaphor in there somewhere. Black Friday, digging yourself into a pointless hole.
I like it. It's it's very much the tongue-in-cheek kind of style of the brand. So I like stunts that do stuff like that. And you got to be impressed the fact that they raised $100,000.
Is that going to charity or something, or to the company, or just to pay the workers digging a hole? Where's that money go?
I think it's to pay for the workers digging the hole. Because they have like giant backhoes and like all this construction equipment. If you saw the pictures, it's a giant. It's not like a small hole that they dug outside the offices of the company. It's like a gigantic. You could build a foundation of a building inside the hole that we're talking about here. It's huge.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's probably just to pay for all the construction equipment. They should spin it and say jobs. Jobs.
Yeah.
$100,000 to pay for jobs.
Building jobs.
Building jobs here in America. Well, good. We are back in segment 3. This whole show we've been talking about relationships, our internal and external relationships, why they're so important to build them, and answering the question from a listener that came in, talks about how do you even get to doing things the right way in communications if you're running into resistance inside the building. How do you even get to, the idea was my company does a lot of the things you talk about that are bad, but there are folks in the organization that want to see those things done, and they don't have any marketing background, and they just want to see those things done, and they're like high in the company. It's like, what I told them back was, I said, 3 letters after your name does not make you an expert in marketing. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what does? Education, credentials, going to school and stuff, living through stuff, experience, gray hair, no hair. I mean, I don't know how to get to be a good bass player. I play all the time, is there a CEO that could play bass? Is the CEO going to step up and go, well, I think I should play that bass? It's like, well, do you have over 20 years experience doing it? If you don't, I'm going to kick your butt. Just to be honest, you don't have a chance. And the same thing's true with marketing, is the fact that, and smart leaders in companies know how to get out of the way when their own potential expertise is going to limit the decision. If they don't, then here's what I'm going to say, and here's what I did say to the listener, by the way, is you have to look at your job like a doctor. A counselor in any capacity, whether you're a lawyer, a public relations person, you're a financial advisor, you're anything. If you're advising people that are higher up than you in the company and that kind of thing, then and I always told my teams that this when in agencies and companies that I work with, is we're like doctors, right? All you can do is tell somebody the diagnosis of the problem, right? I think that all the research has come back, and we believe that you have you have this illness, and here's the treatment options that we have available to us, and that kind of thing. But then it's up to the client, the patient in that case, to sort of accept the counsel and go forward, and that takes them to a path of recovery and health and those kind of things, or to reject it, which takes them the other direction, right? But you seldom see a doctor. If you come to them and they say, oh, here's my diagnosis and here's what I want to do, you seldom see the doctor get personally involved with the decision. It's your decision, right? Their job is to deliver the best counsel for you. And then you have the opportunity to make the decision as that decision maker. As a service provider inside the organization, you're a doctor, right? You must deliver the counsel. You absolutely must. Because if you don't, you end up in the losing column in our last segment very easily. That's how those people get there, is nobody's counseling people. They're not thinking through things the right way. Or they're, too afraid to lose their own job to tell the truth. And if you ever get in a position where that's the case, you should leave that job yesterday. You should, because you're not doing anybody any good, and that situation is going to be problematic for you either in the short term or the long term, or you're going to lead your company down a really nasty road as well. Always got to be able to tell the truth. It's an absolute imperative. But don't get so personally involved in it. Companies make bad decisions all the time. Maybe they'll take your counsel and maybe they won't, but your job is to deliver it. And once you've delivered the hot potato, you're done. You've done your job. You've done what the profession expects of you. That's what you're supposed to do. And that's what I told this person. I said, don't worry about it. If you have done your job and you've delivered the right counsel and they still decide to make a bad decision, then you're on record as saying that was a bad decision, and you're sleeping great at night and you're fine. And people make bad decisions, and maybe they'll listen to you the next time when it ultimately turns into a big ball of fire and failure, and it's gonna, folks, just so you know. So anyway, that's what I would say about that particular question. But let's dig into my 5 tips real quick here in segment 3. So we've got it. Tip 1 for building great relationships: do great quality work. Great quality work. Raise the bar all the time on yourself for your quality of work. You don't find a musician anywhere that isn't always looking to improve. You don't find any musician worth their salt anywhere that's not like, wait a minute, I can learn that. How can I learn how to play that? Oh, wait, that person did something. Oh, this is cool. I learned how to play that song. Adopt that in your work as well, in your marketing work. Always look to raise the bar on the quality. It's not just good enough, right? It's not going to be good enough for you, even if it's good enough for them. Even if it's good enough for them, great. But is it good enough for you? Are you pushing yourself on a consistent basis to provide the best quality, awesome work that you're capable of doing? That's why we're here, folks. We're not here to collect a check. We're not here to go, go out drinking with the buddies and that kind of thing. We're here to push the bar of what human beings are capable of doing. If you believe that, then stand up and do it. Push your work all the time. Push yourself, just like a workout, with your physical body. Push your work, push, and always provide the best, absolute best possible quality work that you can. And that's tip 1 for building a great client relationship. Because if you're pushing the bar on quality, then they know they're going to get quality when they're coming to you. Number 2, keep your word, keep your commitments. How many people say they're going to do something and then don't? It's a lot of people, and they've got great excuses for why they don't. Oh, I couldn't. I couldn't. I know I meant to do that. But follow up with me. Keep your commitments. The people in this world that have great client relationships can be counted on to keep their word all the time. By the way, that extends to being on time for meetings. That's a commitment. You say you're going to be there at 1, be there at 12:50. Always. My first job out of college, that got drilled into my head because I reported to the engineering department through some, quirk of irony or something. But I reported to the engineering department, and the director of engineering liked everybody to be early to the meetings. At the appointed time of the meeting, he would lock the door. If you were not in your seat when the door was locked, you got assigned a project in the room, and no one was allowed to tell you what it was or when it was due. Which sounds like an episode of Seinfeld. I get that, but it's very scary, when everybody's talking about you and saying, hey, this person isn't here, so we're going to give them this project and see how they do it. And of course, you're going to fail, because there's no way you can, without the instruction, how do you know what to do? That kind of thing. So this person did that to demonstrate, and he was very clear about it. And he said, "I want you here when the meeting starts." He goes, He goes, and a good way to make sure that you're here when the meeting starts is you're here 10 minutes before that meeting starts, right? And then there's no chance that door is going to lock and you're not going to get in there. I think in this world today, not enough people understand that when you're late for things, the door also locks on you. The door to trust is locking on you, and you shouldn't do that. Obviously everybody gets caught in traffic. Everybody has those kind of things. You know how you don't get caught in traffic? You leave 15 minutes earlier. You live in LA. I apologize, but traffic's always going to be bad. If you're leaving for a meeting at 2:00 in the morning, traffic is bad in LA. It's always bad. Assume it, understand it, get yourself a traffic app. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of ways around that stuff. Keep your commitments. You say you're going to follow up on Tuesday with something. Maybe you're there Monday night with it. Maybe it's there, very early in the morning on Tuesday. How do you beat that? How do you do what Five Guys does with the extra scoop of French fries in view of the client? How do you surprise your clients and make sure that you're not only keeping your commitments, maybe you're beating your commitments? Nobody ever gets in trouble for being early or getting things done early. You know what I mean? So do that. That's how you're going to get great client relationships. Tip number 3, communicate. Make sure that you're always having an open line of communication with your clients. And this, I'm talking your internal clients. If you're internal, even if they're frustrating, even if they aren't the kind of people that you are, even if they don't see the world the same way that you do, it's in the organization's best interests if everyone is communicating and trying to be empathetic to everybody else's situation. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because we're all people, and people, are we're all different. We all kind of see things differently, and I think sometimes just understanding that is going to take you a really long way in understanding what you're supposed to do. Again, if there's a problem with a project, you're communicating about it. Hey, I'm having a problem with this. You didn't give me enough information here. I used to sit in production meetings all the time, with my clients on the agency side and the corporate side, and they would say, "Oh, we're waiting on something for the client." And I would say, "Have you told the client?" "Well, we didn't want to be rude." So be rude. Rude in the sense of, we need this information, be nice about it. I'm not saying literally be rude, but I'm saying they wouldn't consider it rude because they've hired us to do a job for them. So if they're the bottleneck, and they can be, they don't mean to be, they're busy too, they're doing other kind of stuff, that kind of things, then you're just, you're being persistent about that kind of thing. We need this information in order to move projects forward, right? Also, if you're a client, by the way, be a good client. You say you're going to do something for the agency, set them up to succeed, Otherwise, you're going to be looking for a new agency. Guess whose time that's going to take? That's right. It's going to take your time, and it's going to be a painful and horrific experience. And you might get an agency the next time that sucks. That's awful. Believe me, they're out there. Just so you know, they are out there. And so, if you have a great agency, be a great client. They're going to be a great agency. You're going to be a great client. It's an equal seesaw, right? You guys are even. They need you as much as you need them, and you guys are having this great relationship. Actually, when that balance gets out of whack, it's sort of when you start to have some of your larger issues with a agency client relationship, or even an internal client relationship. So try to keep things balanced. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing, and everybody is being called on it when they're not, and the communication lines are very clear and very open. Tip number 4, stay focused, but be adaptable. Be adaptable. I think this is really, really important because, again, creative people, marketing people sometimes say, well, this is what we should do. And it's an amazingly brilliant idea. And my mom really liked it. And my girlfriend loved it. And man, it was awesome. And we should totally be doing it. And if anybody doesn't want to do it in this company, then they're an absolute idiot, which may be true, as we have discussed. However, we're coming at it from one perspective of the organization too. And there are certainly other perspectives of the organization. Again, doctors don't say, I'm the greatest doctor in the world. I'm super creative and I can totally cure your illness. And if you don't to go with my treatment, then I'm gonna, make you feel bad about yourself and, say how bad you are and what an idiot you are and how you don't have any skills and those kind of things. Right. They don't do that because they are not personally involved. When you are creating creative work, learn how to take your personal involvement out of it. You ever write something and somebody comes back and says, and I mean, you've really slaved over this thing and you wrote it and somebody said, I want to make some changes to it and that kind of thing. And you can get defensive about it. And you're like, I don't want to make those changes. Those are terrible, that kind of thing. Make sure that you're not reacting to the changes from an ownership standpoint that is not serving your interests. Right. As a person that creates content, it's your job to sort of sell the content as well to everyone else. And if people want to make some changes to it, then you have a conversation about that. You want to have a conversation about why it should be changed. But, keep your adaptability in this and don't get personally involved. Remember my analogy with the doctor. It has saved me more times because I get huffy and I get upset and I'm like, and I want to just, I want to just force my client to do the thing that I want them to do because, man, I just know it's right and I just know this other direction is wrong and everything else. And that may be all true. But it does not matter because the win for you is not getting the greatest idea pushed through. The win for you is keeping that relationship. And what's the win for the organization? Keeping all of their relationships, right? Do you see how this all ties together? Are you starting to see that? Marketing is about building great relationships. Marketers need great relationships. And honestly, we should be really good at it. If you can do it with millions and billions of people, then you should darn well be able to do it with Bob down the hall. You know what I mean? Use it. Use your skills. Your skills that work on 1 billion people work just as well on one. Tip number 5, be a partner. Be a long-term partner in that business. Know their business as well as you know their own. And I mean internal and external, that kind of thing. Know what are they worried about? What's their pain points? What are their solutions? How can you be of value to them? Ask them those questions. Communicate about it. Client relationships drive service companies, and every communications professional out there needs to find a good balance between maintaining the ones without becoming a real yes man and adding no strategic value and not being a counselor. The profession requires us to be better, to strive for the very best practices in what we do, but the need to remain employed is always there. And so you don't want to be the most right, correct, truthful person that has no job. It's about balance. And it's between what you can live with and what the profession requires of us while maintaining those great relationships. It's not easy, but if anybody can do it, it's us from the communications side of the world. That's it for me, marketing fans. This is Scott Robertson signing off for May the Best Brand Win on Intertalk Radio, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. We'll see you next week. Rock and roll.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove